Welcome to episode 1 of Point of View with Barry Boyce, editor-in-chief of Mindful magazine. I'm Heather Hurlock, senior editor digital at mindful.org, and today we're talking about mindfulness in public schools. Recently, the National Center for Law and Policy, a non-profit legal defense organization focusing on religious freedom and civil liberties, sent a legal notice to a Cape Cod school district asking them to end their mindfulness program because the center contends that the mindfulness program is based on Buddhist beliefs and violates the separation of church and state. Barry, can you share your thoughts on what's happening in Cape Cod?
The school board member who is opposing calmer choice being in the schools there is a religious right Christian parenting author, and the organization, the National Center for Law and Policy, is likewise a religious right organization. However, that doesn't really matter. Whatever points they're making, to the extent that they're good and valid, ought to be taken into account. My general feeling about disputes is that no matter who the person disputing is, we should always see if there's a grain of truth in what they're bringing up and whether it should lead to some incremental change. If in fact it turns out that maybe that accidentally some of the teachers in calmer choice or some part of the curriculum might need to be adjusted somewhat to take greater care, great. I don't know. I don't have the information. I'm not on the ground there. They started calmer choice because of seeing how many school children were in crisis, including leading to suicides. So Fiona Jensen, who started Calmer Choice, was motivated by a real, genuine concern and for the well-being of students. And this is a national epidemic that stress in school is causing all kinds of problems. And Fiona is a tireless advocate for ways to help students deal with their tension and their emotions.
The legal notice from NCLP seems to imply that mindfulness is potentially harmful to children. What do you think about that?
There's no evidence whatsoever that mindfulness properly taught in a developmentally appropriate way would do any danger to school children. I've read the legal brief. It's 24 pages long, and it's filled with assertions drawn from all sorts of places that have nothing to do at all with the introduction of mindfulness, developmentally appropriate mindfulness practices for school children. It talks, for example, about dangers that people going on improperly supervised Buddhist retreats might experience. But that has nothing at all to do with the effects of a developmentally appropriate mindfulness practice would have on a school child.
The legal notice also contends that mindfulness is acting as a gateway to Buddhism and a Buddhist worldview. Do you see any merit in that statement?
There's a commonly accepted level of worldview, so to speak, that I think is acceptable in the public school, that we should be kind to each other, that, we're here to pay attention and try to learn, those sorts of things. You could call them a worldview, but it's just basically what we've agreed upon about, what should be going on in the classroom and how we should conduct ourselves. So that's why I don't think teaching children to be kind, to have a practice that asks them to generate kindness is a religious practice, or even inculcating a big worldview. When you're talking about the very simple practice of, okay, Jane, we're going to take a couple of minutes. We're going to sit quietly and pay attention to your body and your breath. That's not very different from when I was taking gym class back in school and my coach asked me to focus on where my body is. It was often done a lot more aggressively, like, Boyce, where are you? Where the hell are you? And what he was trying to say is that I wasn't in my body and mind at that moment. And if you're just giving that kind of instruction, that is not a religious ritual. And I think that it will be proven over time as these kind of questions come up that just because it's used within Buddhism doesn't automatically make it a religious ritual.
Are there best practices being developed for teaching mindfulness in public schools?
Yeah, definitely. I think, one of the leading people doing this kind of work is Patricia Jennings, who is now at the Curry School of Education at the University of Virginia. And in fact, in the journal Mindfulness, she recently published a commentary called Mindfulness-Based Programs in the American Public School System, Recommendations for Best Practices to Ensure Secularity. So key people in this field are very concerned that the skill of mindfulness is taught as a basic skill that we all have and that we can cultivate.
How can mindfulness help children deal with the stress of school?
And I think what's driven a lot of interest in having mindfulness in classrooms is to have a complete mind-body kind of education, not just exercising students' cognitive skills, but also to deal with their central nervous system and their stress responses and all sorts of phenomenon in our body and mind that affect our ability to pay attention, to work together collaboratively with other people, to ride waves of emotion that come over us during the day. So this is what has driven the interest in mindfulness in schools. It's long been recognized that you need to teach the whole student, not just pour information into them. I can't just say in a blanket way that mindfulness in public schools is a good thing. I can only say that if mindfulness is taught appropriately as a basic human skill that we all have, it's a good thing in public schools.